Today I'm going to talk about how to use the iMac desktop computer. When you log in, you will see the desktop. This is where you can store files and folders, and also where your menu bar, your dock, your control panel are. We're going to start with the dock. The first icon on your dock is always going to be your Finder. It looks like a smiley face. Your Finder is where your files and folders are actually stored. You can see that the desktop is one of the options in your Finder. Desktop is basically like a folder that you can access without opening Finder. Documents is where you're going to save most of your documents. Downloads is where things from your browser are going to download to. I've also created an assignments folder and put it in my favorites so that it's easy to find. Inside Finder, there are 4 views: icon view, list view, I don't know what this one is called actually, and carousel view. I like to stick to either icon view or detailed list view. Each of our folders can contain more folders. For example, my Documents folder contains several folders: assignments, new, screen recordings, and so on and so forth. If I double-click on any folder, I can open it to see what files and other folders or subfolders are inside. To create a folder, I'm going to go to File and New Folder. To name it, I'll double-click where it says Untitled Folder and type in the name. To move it into another folder, I can click it once, drag, hold, and drop it into a new folder. If I don't need this folder and there's nothing inside of it that I need either, to delete it, I can simply drag it down to the trash can on the dock. I can do the same thing with files. If I make a mistake and I didn't mean to delete that, I can open my trash and simply drag it back out. Please avoid emptying your trash can. All right. Next to the Finder is your Launchpad icon. This is where all of your installed apps are stored. It's kind of similar to an iPhone or an Android phone. You can click to swipe. I want to find Photoshop. I can also search Adobe Photoshop 2023. I'm going to click there once and launch Photoshop. You can see on the dock that Photoshop is currently bouncing up and down. This is to show that the application is loading. The dot here below the application icon shows that the application is open. If I minimize it, it goes down here and can be opened by clicking the Photoshop icon. If I want to make sure that Photoshop stays on my dock as a permanent icon, I have 2 options. I can simply drag it anywhere to the left of this bar, or I can right-click Options and keep in dock. Now, even if I quit Photoshop completely by going to the Application menu and going to Quit, you will see that Photoshop stays on my dock. The dot goes away to show that it is no longer open, but it is still here and can be activated. Next up is our menu bar. Up here in the top left-hand corner, you will see a little apple. The Apple logo will allow you to go to the system settings, restart, sleep, or shut down your computer, force quit an application that is misbehaving, lock your screen if you need to get up and go to the bathroom, and log out at the end of the day. The menu to the right of the Apple icon is always going to be your active window. By default, your active window is Finder because Finder is always open. If I open Chrome instead, you will see that my active window changes to Chrome. If I click back to my desktop, the active window changes to Finder. Note that when the active window changes, not only does the application name change, but the menu bar itself changes as well. Here I have the Finder menus. If I click into Chrome, now I have the Chrome menus. It's very important to make sure that you have the correct active window activated before you try to use the menus. On the opposite side is your control panel and your Spotlight search. Spotlight search is an excellent utility if you ever get lost or confused. Using Spotlight search, you can search for applications, files, folders, or even search the web for an answer. Here, we are going to try searching to see if Google Chrome is already installed on this computer. We already have it open, so we know that it is, but let's check anyway. Google. It did auto-complete Google Chrome because I have looked it up recently. Here you can see that the top answer is Google Chrome. This is the application. Set up a Google account, Google Drive, some searches, other applications, Siri suggested websites, anything that I visited in Safari recently, photos that contain the word Google Chrome, or files that contain the word Google Chrome. It goes on and on and on. How about Adobe Illustrator? If I type in Adobe Illustrator, you can see that it auto-completes the name of the app and says the word open. If I hit enter, it will launch Adobe Illustrator. This works with multiple app types, including some of the computer's utilities. Spotlight search, screenshot, and now I have the screenshot utility. Easy as that. I'm going to go ahead and right-click or Control-click, Options, and keep in Dock. Then I'm going to move it next to Photoshop. I don't need Illustrator open, so I'm going to go up to Illustrator and quit. The last thing we're going to do is look at some of the system settings. You can get to the system settings from the system settings icon on the dock, or by going up to the Apple icon and going to system settings. There are a lot of system settings, and they can be a little confusing and overwhelming. The easiest thing to do if you're not sure where something is to use the search bar. I want to search for my mouse settings, so I'm going to type mouse. Click mouse. My mouse settings might look different from yours because I have a custom mouse, but your tracking speed is going to be how quickly your cursor moves across the screen. The slower it is, the more you'll have to lift and move the mouse around. Secondary click, I want to set that to click right side. The mouse that I have installed right now has both a left and a right click, but the mouse that you have may only have one button. You want to make sure that click right side is enabled so that you can do right clicks without having to hold the control key. Your double click speed is how fast you need to double click for the Mac to read it as a double click. And your scrolling speed is how fast you want things to scroll when you use your scroll wheel. The last setting we're going to look up is the default web browser. I'm just going to type web. If I look here, it says under desktop and dock, I can change my default web browser. I'm going to click here, scroll down a bit, and there's default web browser. I'm going to set it to Google Chrome. If you don't see Google Chrome in here, you can just leave it on Safari for now. And that's going to be it for the basics of using your desktop iMac. Remember that if anything gets too confusing, you don't remember where something is or how to get to something, you can always use Spotlight Search. You also have the option to go to Help and search from there. And of course, you can always ask your seatmates or ask me if you have any questions. That's going to be it for the iMac overview.